at the Lac La Biche pool. And I was like, wow, from Ontario to Lac La Biche. That's a big move.
Yeah, I was talking in Jasper with John Napier on the ski lift, not the ski lift, the peak.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, and since then in Alberta, you've become a Red Cross volunteer, which has been awesome. And I want to say also congratulations on your webinar series. And you know what I asked you pre-show, and I'm pretty sure it was 27. 27, did I get it right?
Oh my gosh, yeah, a lot of webinars.
A lot of webinars.
23rd.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome. So congratulations on that, and thank you for coming and speaking about our lives after COVID.
Yeah, well, thank you so much for having me. I'm going to pull up the PowerPoint. I've also put in the chat box for those of you that would like to open it up for yourself. You can open it up. I'm hosting it on our website. That's just so you can open it up and save it, download it, do what you need to do with that. But I want to say thank you so much to Kevin and Aaron for inviting me. I think you guys can't know how stressful this is for them. It's very hard to get on camera. It's very hard to make sure that everybody has their needs met, whether it's via message or, and it's believe me, I feel for them. It's a struggle. So give them lots of love for doing what they can, because it's a big leap. And we as aquatic professionals are so good at making a quick turn, using the resources that we have, but it's really, really hard. Let me tell you, nothing in my formal education or my 18 years in aquatics prepared me to stare at my tablet right now and present to you. So it's we're doing what we can. So thank you so much. My topic today is your swimming pool post-COVID. So I'm going to do my best to address lots of questions that have come up and do my best to provide you with some resources and some suggestions. The biggest thing I want to tell you, though, at the beginning of this session is I don't have all the answers, okay? I'm not an epidemiologist. I'm not a scientist. I don't have a crystal ball. I don't have any secret sauce I'm going to give you. I just want to come at this topic from the perspective of a common sense approach that is professional, that is long-term facing, and that really can set you or your facility up for success, okay? And it's impossible for me in an hour, not even 40 minutes, let's say, to cover everything. So I want to let you know up front, I will leave 15 minutes at the end for Q&A. I'm happy to stay on for a few more minutes after the Q&A. I know that Kevin and Aaron are really great. I love that they've built in 15, 30-minute lifestyle breaks. As somebody who spent 5 hours on my couch yesterday recording for different meetings, you need to get up, you need to stretch, you need to prioritize self-care. So you can connect with me offline. All of my contact information is on the last slide. Please feel free to continue the conversation in these sessions. I'm also attending them via email with me on Facebook, on Instagram. Don't feel like this is, I'm dumping information and then leaving. Okay. So with all of that said, let's jump right into your swimming pool post-COVID. Okay. So you can open up those slides in the link in the chat box. Maybe Kevin or Aaron, you can pin that so it's easy for people to find. You just find the link and then add the little sticky pin. So those of you who don't know me, my name is Katie Crysdale. I'm very happy to be a Red Cross Master Instructor Trainer, a research conductor here in Canada. And I was thrilled last year to be sent all over. So I was in BC, Saskatchewan, all over Alberta to do research. Just the standard background about me. I've been in aquatics a long time. I'm a CPO instructor, certified pool operator instructor. So I am more comfortable with the mechanical side of swimming pools than some programmers and instructors are. I have a mom who's a lawyer. She's a risk manager. So that has really informed a lot of how I was raised, how I have run aquatic facilities, how I coach and mentor individuals who are really paralyzed by what they should be doing. Risk management is in my blood, literally. Okay. And so we need to come at this from a risk management perspective throughout this session. I threw up some stats about the POOLaide webinars, not to promote them, but just to be factual that they've taken over my life. 1,500 live attendees, 55,000 minutes watched on YouTube last month, 8 pounds that I've gained. So that's the not so good silver lining to the last month. I accidentally killed my betta fish on Sunday, so I'm not perfect. And the big perspective I want to give you in this session is that everything is changing, okay? Brenda this morning talked a lot about this, but it is so, so true. Everything is changing, and we should be prepared not to go back to the way it was, but to embrace the future, to embrace the suck, to embrace the change, to break free of everything that's been constricting us. And it's, in my opinion, it's not going to be temporary. It's not going to be 2 months, 3 months, 6 months. Those of you that have watched Dr. Justin Sempersot's discussion with Joey Rusnak online, he said we might be wearing masks in public for 12 to 18 months. Who am I to counterbalance a medical professional's opinion on these matters? Okay. So I want to jump right in and ask, how are you today? This is not, there's no judgment, but I want you to put a percentage in the chat box. How are you feeling today as a person? 100% being great, 10% being not so great. How are you doing today? Because you are at the center of this conversation. So I'm seeing a range of percentages. If you're high, that's great. If you're low, I'm with you. Every day is not good, but there's something good in every day. So if you're at the low end of the spectrum, I'm hopeful that we can build you up during this session and that you can feel more positive about the mountain of work that is facing us going out of this. Okay. So how are you today is a huge piece of what we're going to talk about. Context matters. So I don't mean to belabor the point, but we do have to discuss this. Okay. We are in the middle of a global pandemic. And as much as we're tired of hearing this, this is informing everything that we do. Okay. I've posted the Johns Hopkins GIS data. 71,000 confirmed cases in Canada as of this morning. It is May 12th, 2020. 5,000 confirmed deaths. Okay. This is not a small thing, regardless of what your personal opinion is on, the virus or anything like that. We're not going to go there, but you need to know that this is the elephant in the room, that this is impacting everything that we do at all aspects of our facility. Okay. This is not going away anytime soon. I'm cautious to make this comparison, and I hope that there's no triggering for anyone, but this is very much like the world post 9/11. Okay, so I was in high school when 9/11 happened. I remember distinctly coming home on 9/11 and knowing that the world was different. I didn't know how it would be different. I didn't know about air travel, security concerns, any issues that we've had culturally in terms of the way we look at other people. But this is very much this is similar to 9/11. We are experiencing something together that is unique, hopefully only once in a lifetime generation. But this is something that we need to understand is not going to go away. And even though we might feel better in a week, in a month, in a year, there are going to be people with long-term trauma, long-term stress impacts on their life. I've listed over on the left-hand side some of the things that are a new normal or the new abnormal for our staff, for our clients, for our stakeholders, for our service providers, for everybody that we are interacting with. Okay. I'm going to give you a side tip too while I'm doing this, because all of you are probably going to be presenting online in the future. Everything you ever learned about visual graphics, don't provide white font on a dark background. You almost have to reverse it when you present online because it's easier to see. Just a tip. So we are living in a new abnormal, and we can stick our head in the sand and we can say we don't like it, we want it to change, we want to go back to February, but we can't, right? This is impacting everything that we do. So we can't put the genie back in the bottle. This is a great quote. I will read it out loud. This is for a marketing website. They're talking about consumer attitudes and behaviors as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic. So consumer attitudes and behaviors are changing. Marketers must start there. Life before COVID-19 revolved around going to work, grocery stores, malls, gyms, restaurants, movies, schools, and because this is a water safety conference, let's add our swimming pools, our spray parks, all of that in. During COVID-19, we'll adapt to working, as Brenda said this morning, shopping, exercising, entertainment, and learning at home. Digital experiences will replace in-person, right? I'm meeting you digitally where you are. Maybe you're at your desk, maybe you're at your kitchen table, maybe you're in the backyard with your kids. Who knows where you are right now? Some of the new habits will become the new normal, even after this crisis passes. Looking ahead, the best companies in the world will prepare now for how to meet the needs of consumers where they are at when the recovery begins. Do not expect consumers to return to the same place. Okay? And so that's something I'm going to keep coming back to in this session. It's important that you know that this is changing. This is not going to go back to normal. The very premise of the conversation, when can we reopen our pools, is inherently faulty. We are not reopening anything. We are opening in a new way a facility that we already have, but in an inherently different way. Okay? That is something that we need to think about. So the first thing I'm going to tell you is that you need to show up and lead. And I know that this is going to sound obvious. Most aquatic professionals are already leading in their lives. You're leading families, households, staff teams. You're leading neighborhoods, volunteer or charity organizations, PTA. You are already the leaders. And I'm sorry, but in aquatics, we have this awesome thing where when you're really good at something, we give you more work. So now is your chance to show up and lead, whether you're leading your aquatics team, whether you're leading your recreation department, whether you're leading your community services division. You need to stand up and be a leader. That is how I see my role, Katie, when I started the POOLaide webinars. I had contacted a few different people that I was interested in working with to provide something to the community, and nobody could agree on what they were doing. So I just said, you know what, I will stand up and I will do this thing, and hopefully people will understand what it was meant to be. And it's been very successful for me. I'm very grateful. The same thing goes for you at your aquatic facility. You need to stand up and lead in whatever aspect that means as we go through the process of opening your pool post-COVID. Okay, so many of you will be familiar with Simon Sinek. His book, Start With Why, has been highly popularized, so we're kind of almost sick of it. But if you're not familiar with Simon Sinek, I would encourage you to look up his TED Talks online, 15, 20 minutes instead of the whole book. I'll be honest, you don't need to read the whole book. The TED Talk really covers it. But if you haven't heard of Simon Sinek, he has these concentric circles. In the center of everything we should be in the center of everything that we do is our why. Then connected to that is our how. And then lastly, connected to that is our what. Sorry, I should put on my cursor so you can actually see. So here's your why, here's your how, here's your what. And we can think about this like a sphere of influence. Why touches on how, and how touches on what, but we can't make the leap from why to what until we go through the how. So over on the left, I've shown you some questions. Why are we opening our swimming pools? That's a big thing. Remember, opening, not reopening. How are we opening our swimming pools? What are we doing to open our swimming pools safely? That's the great thing about this dialogue. All of you in this room, I know that you are safety conscious. You are aquatic professionals who are connected and committed to water safety, drowning prevention, doing right by your staff, doing right by your clients, doing right by everyone. But how are we going to do this in a post-COVID world? Okay, how are we going to do it? We're going to make the lists that we always make. So if you're me, you make really, really long lists. You write down every little thing that you might think about, and then you're going to analyze it. So you're going to pause before implementing any list. You're going to prioritize that list, and then you're going to be prepared to pivot. Okay, this is not me inventing anything. This is very basic, but I want to draw us back to our lists in a time where many people are not thinking about everything that could possibly go wrong. You need to write down every thought, every idea, every inkling. It needs to be written down and prioritized. And we're going to go through some categories in the next couple slides. But at a base level, you're pausing, writing everything down to prioritize it, and then pivot. Okay, so we're going to look at 6 different areas. Again, in a 50-minute session, I can't cover every single aspect of your facility, and each of you will have individual concerns that I will do my best to address at the end with the Q&A or offline afterwards. But I've taken some general categories that apply to all swimming pools. The same would apply for a daycare, a recreation center. All of these things are generic areas we're going to look at. The big thing I want to kind of encourage you is, yes, it's a lot of work to open your pool. Yes, it's going to be hard. Yes, there's no right way to do it, but it is a fresh start. So every policy that you ever hated, every practice, every habit, every vestigial, whatever, now is the time to let it go. And yes, I fully understand that creates more work, but none of your staff, none of your clients are going to remember how your pool operated on February 5th. They just don't. They will be grateful to get back into the pool. And so I really want you to consider, as we're going through these next couple slides, you can make an intermediary period where it's just a COVID this, or it's just a COVID that, and we're just going to do it for 12 months or 18 months until we are required and we can stop. Why not change everything in a way that is best for our facility and best for our individual or our organizational priorities? Why not start fresh? Why not take this opportunity and really reimagine what you're going to do at your facility? Okay, it's now or never. Nobody's going to come hold your hand. You don't have to change anything. I'm not going to judge you if you've got 3 kids at home, your spouse is unemployed, your staff have been laid off, and you've had it up to here. You're a 40% today, you're a 30% today. I don't judge you. But if you can find some time and prioritize a couple of small things, now is your fresh start. And you will really thank yourself a year, 2 years, 5 years from now, when you're going to be ahead of the curve than everybody else who does a COVID this and then a that. Why are we trying to go back, as Brenda said? Why are we trying to revert back? This is new. Let's go with new, right? We don't know what's coming. Why not go with new? Okay, so I've gone through, I should have, articulated. I've got 6 different categories over here. I will briefly take you through some different bullet points. Again, I'm going to keep moving along. Communication is huge, okay? You guys know this, but communication right now has changed dramatically. Me talking to you right now, your expectation of what I can deliver as a presenter is different than if we were sitting together in a meeting room in a hotel in Regina or Winnipeg. Your expectations are different. Communication right now is different. How many of you can think of a brand or a company that you have followed that you like and you've seen them struggle on social media? They've fallen flat on their face. They haven't met your expectations in terms of service or product, right? That's all about communication. There's the same companies right now struggling with the same challenges that have done great things with their social media, their communication, those emails you've probably received. This is our safety protocol during COVID. You as an aquatic facility, you need to change your communication yesterday. And if you didn't change it yesterday or 3 months ago, or 3 weeks ago, you need to change it now. How you communicate with your customers, how you communicate with your staff. Is it on social media? Is it via video link? Is it via little web recordings on YouTube? Communication has got to change, and there is no time for fluff. There is no time for BS. There is no time to waste. We need to break down those silos and communicate honestly. And all of the words I've shown on the left, we need to change our communication. So I've given some additional tips, and the box in the middle, this is from my dentist. So it is a little bit longer than I would recommend, but I received this email from my dentist last week. So I reside in Alberta. The premier in Alberta decided last Friday that there would be some phase 1 reopening on Monday, May 4th. And I guess my dentist's office, they were struggling with phone calls, people anticipating that they would just be reopened for cleanings and fillings. And my dentist sent out this email that I thought, although it's a little long, is very spot on. We need to really convey our message in a way, over on my left, that we're imagining one client, that we're speaking to one person the way I'm speaking to you right now. You're the only person in your room. There's not, there may be kids, there may be spouses, there may be pets, but I'm speaking to you. That is more compelling and transparent and honest than, hey, everyone, big global message. Okay. You reap what you sow with communication. I build my brand credibility by being honest. So too do you with your pool. There's nothing that you know that another pool owner doesn't also know. You need to be transparent that there's very little information out there for everyone. Things will continue to change. You will make mistakes in your communication. The good news is everybody's making mistakes. I've made mistakes. You'll make mistakes, and you need to find your voice. Okay, so really think about your communication. And if you have a communication department that really shoehorns you into a certain type of communication, now is the time to have a discussion. Hey, communications department, you're probably really busy right now, and I need to get out information to my staff and clients in an expedient way. There's a bottleneck right now waiting for your approval, waiting for you to post, waiting for you to do this, this, and this. And I'm a bit of a risk taker. I'll beg for forgiveness later. I'm not going to ask for permission, right? We need to get on with it. We need to be nimble, okay, as best as we can. Hopefully everyone out there is still alive. I see no activity in the chat box, so hopefully we're still all here. Let's move along to health and safety, okay? So I talked communication. We're going to go to health and safety now, okay? So try not to fall off your chair, whatever you're sitting on. This is a real post off of Facebook, okay? So my POOLaide webinars, I've had people from all over the world. We have about 60% of attendees from the United States. And with all love to my American colleagues, and my husband is American, I'm struggling right now to watch all of the American facilities in certain jurisdictions and states. They're being told to reopen and they don't have a game plan. Benefit that we have here in Canada is that this is not coming anytime soon. Most pools have been slotted into phase 3, phase 4, phase 5. I'm looking at you, Newfoundland. Love your phase 5 system, right? We have time, okay? So basic health and safety things. I can't cover everything, but you need to chat with your staff and you need to ask for ideas and help, and you need to listen again. Okay, you need to talk with your staff. You don't just write it down and put it on a shelf. You actually listen to them and you see what, would you teach swimming lessons in the pool right now? I definitely would not, right? Doesn't matter what kind of shield, but I'm not going to teach swimming lessons. Okay, follow your gut. If you think it's unsafe or a bad idea, it probably is. Okay. Keep everyone informed. That goes for everything that you're doing always, but particularly when we talk about the COVID pandemic, how many of you experienced that feeling in the first couple weeks of March where every hour was like a separate day? Every hour something was changing. Every hour there was a new development. Every hour there was a new restriction. Okay. You don't have time to wait for communication to be convenient. You need to push it out and push it out and push it out as much as you physically can, via email, via internal staff chat, text, whatever that looks like, okay? And when you're thinking about opening, you need to think about your people, not profits or your productivity. We in aquatics have this bad habit of wanting to be really, we want to deliver. We want to make ratepayers happy. We want to make the mayor look good. We want to make our community services director happy. Aquatics in a COVID pandemic situation is no time for us to compromise. And I really, really want to stress that because I'm seeing so many people going against their better judgment to go with the flow and figure it out and it'll probably be okay. And I'm not going to tell you that it's going to be okay, right? It's really not going to be okay unless you have a plan that you're comfortable with. Exactly. Always go with your gut. Your gut game is the most important. So this is a photo I took at Walt Disney World last year, Typhoon Lagoon. Shout out to Kevin. There's my Disney cred for the last year. And The pen is here too, Kevin, so you know, pen for today. Basically, can we even physically distance at a pool? In my professional opinion, we cannot. How can we deal with this? Even if we say only 25% of our capacity is what the Center for Disease Control in the United States is saying. Okay, if my pool has a capacity, if this wave pool has a capacity of 1,200 people, how is 300 people, how are they going to maintain physical distance? How are we going to maintain our crowds? How are we going to address those willful people who violate the physical distancing protocol and put our clients and our customers at risk? Okay, we can purchase cordons, we can purchase stanchions, we can make plans, but really, what can we do in a pool situation? Okay, and this is where I apologize that I don't have, I don't have a silver bullet. I can't tell you what to do. There is literally, this is uncharted territory, everyone. Okay, we could all come to conferences next year and deliver on, well, now we know what to do, but there is no paradigm. Okay, and so you really need to think, practically speaking, if you show this photo to most non-pool people, they'll get it. Without the visual, very few non-pool people get it. We can't physical distance. The water is not the issue. It's the contact of many, many different people. Okay, another aspect about physical distancing, you need to reimagine your spaces. So your pool decks, your change rooms, your washrooms, reception, where do people check in, lifeguard offices, your office, the equipment room, the filter room, the lunch room, the first aid room. Those are all different rooms, different spaces. We can't just close the door and not go in there. That's all part of your consideration about why a pool should open. If you don't have answers to those questions, then respectfully, why are you even opening? Okay, we'll get to that in a couple slides. But if you don't have answers, now is not the time to wing it. Now is not the time to say, yeah, you know what, our shutdown will finish in 2 weeks. I don't have a problem staying up late the night before, filling the pool, heating it. We'll figure it out. I'll go to sleep the next day and we'll be good. Now is not the time. This is a marathon. This is not a sprint. This is not going anywhere anytime soon. If you are not confident with your plan, you need to stop that train before it leaves the station. Okay. What about loitering and congregating? So this photo I pulled off of Instagram. This is from a lifeguard, Huntington Beach, California. There's lots of great Instagram accounts if you need ideas for different facilities to follow, different protocols that they're testing out. But basically, they're going to try and have water-based activities, active activities, but no seating. Maybe it'll work, maybe it won't. I don't know. We'll have to watch and see. How does this translate to a pool? Well, for accessibility reasons, can we really close our seating areas, our different spaces? I don't have the answers, but is there ways that we can moderate traffic through the facility? Another big thing I think a lot of people are not realizing is we're going to be doing two different things. We're either going to be doing more work with less money, so more work as the aquatic manager, the programmer, the lifeguard, the instructor, or we're going to be doing less with more money. And that's something that needs to also enter into our thinking. What level of service are we prepared to give? What is the service expectation? What is the direction from our council, our mayor, our organization? What level of service should we be providing? And we need to articulate up to our people, what can we actually do? If you cut my staff budget by 10% because of the economy and taxes being down, that's fine. But you need to know, if you cut my safety budget by 10%, I'm leaving staff at home. I'm not bringing them in to share PPE. I'm not bringing them in to reuse nitrile gloves. I'm not bringing them in to reshare stainless steel rain boots, right? There is more to this. We are not just kind of making it work. Now is not the time to go with the flow and figure it out, make it work with less. We do ourselves a discredit in aquatics often for making it work so much that people can suck and suck and suck that resource away from us. And then they're surprised that there's wait lists on swimming lessons. Okay. You need to have that financial conversation in your department, in your division, about what you can actually do with the resources you've been given or that have been taken away. Okay, programming. Programming is obviously a big question. I don't have the specific answers, but I would encourage you to consider the nature of the activity. So swimming lessons being different from lane swim, being different from free swim, being different from aquatic fitness, being different from swim club or specialty. I would encourage you to go back and look at your space allocation policies if you have one, but then do not default to those norms. So if you have an internal programming priority that you always prioritize your internal organizational programming, great. But if you don't have any internal capacity for programming, you need to move down the list. The same way if the swim team, if they always have space, but the swim team doesn't have a plan for a safe use of your facility, you need to move on, right? You cannot stand and go back to vestigial old practices. In my opinion, it should be, what is the age of the participants? What is the activity that will be happening? Can it be modified for the new standards that you implement at your facility? Can you let people back in? For sure, but will they even come? So why would I offer to my mom's group, perhaps, or my parents' group, why would I offer parent and taught lessons if I haven't asked them that they would bring their high-risk pregnant spouse and small child to the pool? Right? We need to think from both sides, not just can we program it, but will they actually come? City of Vancouver is doing a great thing right now. They're actually saying, would you come to our pools if we reopen them? Right? That's a significant conversation you need to have with your ratepayers, your community, with your staff. The same way too, I've been saying this for a few weeks, and I don't think everyone's anticipated this. We will see further layoffs if we reopen our aquatic facilities too soon, and then we cannot meet the revenue or admission targets to keep them open. So what I mean by that is if I reopen with 8 staff covering 5 days a week, and my payroll is, let's just say $2,000 a week. I know that's not a real number, but if I don't have any revenue after 3 weeks, my director, my HR department, they're going to look at me and say, well, we've spent $6,000 on salary and wages. We have no revenue to offset. You need to cut your shifts. And I need to put my staff back on layoff, back on EI, back on CERB. Okay. So you need to really consider, I'm not saying only open when people will come, but you need to consider the flip side of if you open with too many staff or too many services, will people even come? There is a brewery in my town in Okotoks that's reopened partially. I'm not going to go there. I mean, I might know people who might go there, but they're spending money every day on people at the bar to provide pickup service. I don't know if anybody's even coming, right? So you have to counterbalance those costs. I'm seeing in the chat box, some people are saying that they're dying to come. Respectfully, I think we need to critically ask ourselves, is that Mrs. Smith and Mr. John who come every single day that have seasonal passes that we may not be able to honor in a limited service delivery model? I won't get into it right now, but we could have a whole side conversation that I don't think seasonal or monthly passes is the way to go. You need to go to drop-in admissions because we will not be able to honor the frequency of use that our clients expect. And then we're going to have to prioritize, does Mrs. Smith get to come in for the 17th time this month? And Joey doesn't when we're capped at 200 people a day. Okay. So I think I see your question, Shelley. We'll get to it at the end. A couple more slides I want to finish up with. Why open it all? Okay. And yeah, I think that's a fair question. I'm not saying we never reopen our aquatic facilities, but Kevin will appreciate this. I'm kind of doing the Disney a little bit. What is the rush? Okay. So Sleeping Beauty or Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs, right? It's not perfect. She's asleep. And there's only so much that she knows while she's asleep. The perspective I have with reopening our pools is we have one chance to get it right. We don't get callbacks. We don't get transfers. We don't get a do-over. Why would we start up? The most effort goes into starting. Why would we start up partially and then stop again? It's better to make a concrete plan, to be a late adopter, to be fully informed, to watch the guinea pigs, the pioneers, and all of the locations that might reopen ahead of us, and have that conversation and say, well, you know what? I think we need one more week for me to fully prepare this, or for me to research that, or for me to get additional supplies. Okay. I really would caution you to have this conversation and say, what is the rush? And believe me, I have been municipal. I know that downward pressure. I know the complaints you're getting. I know that pressure, but you really need to understand, right? Nobody is sticking a gun to your head, heaven forbid. But really, at the end of the day, it's your responsibility. We'll talk about that in a few slides. If you're not confident in your plan, I don't want to see you on the hook later. Okay, so closed. This is in Alberta. So this is the town of Devon outside of Edmonton. They announced about 2 weeks ago that they're going to be closed for the summer. Okay, so there's lots of reasons you may choose to close your facility. Pro tip, make it about your labor shortage. Make it about something ancillary to COVID. COVID is one of the issues, but now is the time to address some of your other issues. If you have safety concerns, labor shortages, your budget's been reduced, now is the time to say, you know what, we can't. Without these supplies or these extra steps, I can't. And I don't want it to seem like we're quitting without even trying. But let's be honest, we have a global pandemic, right? We've been physically isolating in our houses in most parts of Canada for 6, 8, 10 weeks. How reasonable is it to come back into the pool, open it up, and pretend like nothing happened, right? There's going to be a lot of trauma, a lot of grief, a lot of different issues that are going to come up. So again, you better be certain that if you're ready to go, you're ready to go. And if you're not ready to go, you either stay closed or you extend your closure or you figure out what you need to do to be prepared. So as I mentioned, you really have one chance to get this right. When I say no take backs, that's kind of like in elementary school, like no take backs. You can't come back and do it over again. Certainly we all make mistakes and we make improvements, but the general picture of this, if you look at your community and what the newspaper headline would be, would you rather be the headline, oh, you know, town of Saskatoon, city of Saskatoon, pools closed until August, or 3 months from now, 2 lifeguards die as a result of COVID transmission from preschooler who came to lessons, okay? We have to go there. We can't imagine a world where everything is going to work out because it's not going to, okay? So if you want to open, power to you. Open with your phasing according to your province. I saw there were some conversations in the chat box clarifying every province is different. Refer to your province, refer to your municipal guidelines. The big thing I want to draw to your attention, and I love this, I pulled this off of the internet last week. Make sure that you're fully personally prepared to lifeguard and teach lessons. If you wouldn't lifeguard or teach lessons yourself in the pool, then there's no conversation you should be having. If you will not do it, then you need to examine why would you ask your staff to do it. Do you have a plan in place for when your staff or clients declare that they have COVID, right? Not from your pool, but they, you know, hey, I need to put my membership on hold because I now need to self-isolate for 3 weeks. What does that look like? Do you understand your employees' rights? Do you understand your liability as a facility manager? Do you understand your liability as the pool operator, perhaps at your facility with the province? So when I'm a certified pool operator in the province of Alberta, I'm the certified pool operator of record for a commercial aquatic facility. The health inspector calls me up if there's an issue. I'm responsible. Am I prepared to have that responsibility? Yes, I'm fully informed and my decision making is based on that information, right? If you are not, then you need to have a different conversation. Understand your accountability to the community and your sponsoring agency. So what I mean by that is, are you not-for-profit? Are you for-profit? The town of Devon, I was able to record a little soundbite with the CAO that I'll put up on our YouTube channel later this week. And he was great because he kept saying again and again and again, no staff member is worth it. We're not going to open the pool. There is nothing that I care more for than my staff, right? Like it was awesome. I wish every one of you had that mayor, that councillor, that town CAO, because it was just so amazing to see a man that was so committed to his staff. And he just said, there is no certainty that I can protect the lifeguards. So why would we open the pool, right? If you have a certainty, then great, but I do not. And make sure you believe in what you're doing and you back it up by facts. So the Center for Disease Control, your provincial regulatory agencies, your local regulatory agencies, scientific reports, Model Aquatic Health Code, lots of different sources. So the last couple of slides I want to mention before we go to questions, pool operations. So if your pool is open, you need to be prepared to deal with your high-risk amenities. So the COVID-19 virus has been shown to survive in airborne, for 3 hours. Okay, so what about your hot tubs, your saunas, your spray parks, anywhere where there is close proximity, as well as breathing, aerosol, moisture, heat, humidity, incubation, all of that. You need to think about that. I would increase your sanitation levels, the chlorine in your pool. Now is not the time to worry about Mrs. Jones's bathing suit. Now is the time to reduce that contact, that inactivation time that kills viruses. Okay, that is why the difference between a formed fecal, like a poo in the pool, versus diarrhea, we need a longer exposure time to ensure that it's dead. We have no CT value inactivation time currently for coronavirus. We suspect that it's not transmitted through water. That said, there's been no direct studies, only drinking water studies. So I would increase your sanitizer. Make sure that you have extra sanitizer around, chlorine. Check your local authority protocols. So the province of Alberta said yesterday, you will not be allowed to reopen without doing a water sample proving that your water is good. So check with your local health authority before you make any plans to reopen, because they may implement something similar, especially if you've been shut down and you've had a renovation, you've drained, or on the flip side, you haven't drained and you've been recirculating water that could be potentially experiencing peaks and valleys of sanitizer. Okay, what's feasible, what's practical, what's acceptable, right? Try and take the macro picture. See the forest for the trees. Don't just focus on one tree. What is reasonable? In a standard of care, a duty to provide care that we have in the aquatics industry, I'm measured against you, who's measured against Kevin, who's measured against Leslie in Newfoundland, and Shelley, right? What is the industry standard? What would a reasonable person do? There will be extremes at both ends, high and low, but you need to think, practically speaking, what is everyone doing contextually as well? Cleaning, right? You guys have heard about cleaning. There's not much I can add to the conversation other than reminding you that cleaning in the workplace is a workplace safety risk, right? So WHMIS, Workplace Hazardous Material Information Systems Training, individual PPE, personal protective equipment, fit testing for respirators, adequate PPE for each person, right? Look and resolve vulnerabilities in your facility. Think about high traffic places where people are going to touch doorknobs, handrails, lockers, counters, faucets, microwaves, your office door, keyboards, telephones, photocopiers. All of those things need to be cleaned. And if you're not prepared to clean them, you need to reduce your occupancy areas to make it more manageable. That is a huge piece. And I also want to make sure I add that this is dedicated cleaning staff. Even if they're lifeguards, they can't be doing cleaning on off rotations, because what if you need them in the pool and that sanitation hasn't happened? So you need to be thinking about, who's my dedicated guard, who's going to be doing cleaning, or what is the dedicated hour? Okay. Make your master to-do list, and then going back to what I said at the beginning of the session, try and focus on core principles, what's important to you as a person, your organization, filtering out what are the nice to haves, what are the want to haves, what is Mrs. Jones, who has an opinion that's not grounded in science, or Mr. Smith, who ran the pool 40 years ago and tells you how to do your job. And very much you need to look to the future, because this is uncharted territory. You can take as a paradigm what we did in the past, but you should not be beholden to it, right? The past is a nice place to visit. That's not a place where we want to live. We want to live in the future. We want to live in 2021. And I'm certain that whenever I meet any of you at a conference, or if I'm in your city and I visit your pool, you're going to remember COVID and everything it meant for you as a person, as well as for you as an aquatic professional. But you also need to remember that that's just one place in time, and how you move forward from that time is really going to be how you determine your future as an aquatic professional. So I don't want to be overly dramatic, but I don't think it's hyperbolic to say that this is really going to be the crux of some people's careers. So when Brenda said this morning, some people will leave the industry, they absolutely will, because they perhaps may not be strong enough in their convictions, in their beliefs, and the way that they articulate that to open their facility safely. It may be too much for them, and I understand that. But you can't underscore enough the risk that we have and the responsibility that we have with our swimming pools as community assets, as community hubs in this pandemic situation. Okay, final notes. Under promise on everything. Do not over deliver. Do not commit. If you cannot do it, don't offer to do it. Don't try to do it. Don't, figure it out later. Everybody's watching what you're doing. Take your time. Use a slow, measured approach. This is a marathon, not a sprint, right? We probably have another 6 to 8 months of this before there's any new normal. I'm not looking at my February normal. I'm talking about my new non-stay-at-home normal. You can be a good leader in crisis. I love this. I heard this recently, the UTA from the US Air Force. So they use this loop, this wheel, to help make decisions. So they observe the problem, they orient to the problem, they decide what to do, and then they act. So every decision while they're airborne, flying an airplane, their life is at risk, they make this decision. What do I see factually? How does that impact what I'm doing? What should I do? And then just do it. Just get on with it. The sooner you get on with it, the sooner you can make a mistake and recover and come back. Okay? I love this. Dance like no one is watching, but email like it one day might be read aloud in a deposition. So I wanted to close with that, not to terrify you, but because I really want to underscore the implications of not getting this right. And I know there's a lot of factors at play, and I apologize if I've added to your stress level and I've lengthened your to-do list, but I want you to feel confident in yourself as an aquatic professional that you know what could go wrong. Me putting up this slide didn't change that for you, but you now need to act and plan and move in the direction where you can sleep at night and be comfortable with what you're doing and stop looking at your neighbor. I see a lot of people on these Facebook groups. I love them, but they're looking at someone else to tell them what to do, and that person has no more authority than you do. I have no more authority than you have at your facility. I have an opinion. I read a lot of things every day. I'm fairly well educated, but I'm not an authority necessarily on your pool. And so you need to be prepared if there's ever a court case, there's ever a disagreement, there's ever an illness, or God forbid a death under any circumstance, you need to be prepared. What did you do? What steps did you take? How confident were you? And if you're not confident, you need to take a step back from the precipice and ask yourself, where do we go from here? So I want to say thank you for listening to me. That was like really, really speedy. I'll definitely take some questions as much as Kevin and Aaron are willing to let me take questions. Again, my name is Katie Crysdale. My business is Lakeview Aquatic Consultants. You can connect with us on the internet is the easiest way right now. I'm very active on Instagram, Facebook. We have a YouTube channel with all of the webinar recordings. Anything you need, you can email me. It's just Katie, Katie, at lakeviewaquaticconsultants.com, or we have a contact form. Just, reach out, let me know what you liked, let me know what you didn't like, tag me in your photos. If I'm ever in your city, I would love to come visit. I'm a big pool nerd. So thank you. Let me make my chat box a little bit bigger so I can see some questions.
Thank you, Katie. That was super interesting. That was a great presentation. Thank you for sharing. I think lots of great words of wisdom. Yeah. Thanks.
Well, letting me do more of an ops talk, because I know when I was discussing with Erin, I'd said to her, well, it's not really a programming session, and I know it's very much a programming conference, but I feel like it's timely, and we're all associated with these decisions. So I'm grateful that you let me talk about it.
Oh, it was perfect. I think you landed on a lot of the things that people have been asking us questions about. So that was excellent.
Thank you.
Do you have any questions from you guys out there?
Let's go back to Shelly. I definitely saw Shelly had a question. 1 second. Whoops. 1 sec. I'm toggling. So you guys know it's really awkward when we have to toggle between these things. Oh, I can't see the questions. So 1 second. Only Kevin, you can authorize the questions.
Okay.
So we'll go back to this mode.
Mm-hmm.
So Shelly, I know initially you were asking about membership. So yes, yeah, not a popular opinion, but I guess my perspective would be, so let's say I bought an annual pass. This happened at my yoga studio. I prepaid last November. I gave them $1,000 for 12 months. I've not been able to use it for 3 months. That's not their fault. It is what it is. Where the liability, in my opinion, comes in. So when they reopen their doors, let's say it's in August, they say, yep, come back. We have yoga, but due to physical limitations, we can only accept 15 people per class based on distancing our mats. And it's first come, first serve. And I'm the type of member who doesn't, like, I don't like to pre-book and take away spots. I wait until my day. I say, yeah, I'm going to go to yoga at 6 o'clock. What if I can't get a space? And in theory, normally pre-COVID, my unlimited $1,000 membership would prioritize access to classes. But the yoga studio says, well, you know, we need to provide access to everybody that's developed a COVID body and stayed home. We want to provide an opportunity for everyone to come in. So from that perspective, I think that you have to really say, you know what, I'm going to put memberships on hold. And for whatever period, whether 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, the memberships don't exist, and it's going to be drop-in. And that doesn't mean we don't reduce our drop-in admission commensurate to a place where it is affordable, but we really need to look at, like, I can't use the yoga studio every day for 30 days if they're only accepting 60 people a day. That doesn't work for their business model because they already have my money and they've spent it on their rent. They're not making any new money either. And that's part of the inherent problem. And I know that it's hard when we have municipally approved rates and bylaws. Believe me, I get that. But if there's ever a time for, a kind of side tangent, it would be now. And I think this is really going to bite people if you don't think about your membership. And I'm obviously not acknowledging that you might be doing online offerings. You might have some sort of programming that you're doing that you don't want to give people their money back. I understand that. But I really would caution any facility that thinks they're going to be able to give that same value, whether it was 15 drop-ins a month equal to membership, where the break-even point. I think you really need to look at that, because until 2021, let's say, we're not doing anything the way we were in February. So why would we try and put that old shape on our current form? Does that make sense? Hopefully, Shelly answers your question. I see a question going back. Nicole, even with outdoor programs, how do we limit people changing, people checking in, and staff in the building for social distancing? I think that, Nicole, is the crux of the problem. We don't know where people are going to loiter. So all of you guys have experienced, as aquatic professionals, as lifeguards, somebody checks in at the front desk and they were wearing their bathing suit and they're in the pool 30 seconds later. And then the family with 2 toddlers, it takes them 20 minutes to get changed, both going into the pool and coming out. We can't truly anticipate those bottleneck locations in our facility because it depends on too many other factors. And so unless we have a trade-off system, a one in, a one out, how do we adjudicate that in our change rooms, in reception, in the pool? The same way too, I go to yoga for 90 minutes. Somebody might come in and swim for 20 minutes. How do you anticipate with lane bookings has been a hot topic? Well, what if I want to book a lane for 90 minutes? Well, respectfully, in my professional opinion, I wouldn't offer any bookings other than a standardized 30 and no rebookings, because it's about, for most municipal organizations, it's equitable access. And that's not going to make a lot of your regulars happy, believe me. And I know they're going to write to the mayor, and I know they're going to write to council, and I know they're going to post on the rant and rave. And I'm not going to lie to you and say that it's going to be fun. But you need to really look, if you go back to the slide with the why and the how, right, as well as the programming slide, what is the crux of the activity, and then really reevaluate what you're programming as well as who you're programming based on better able to anticipate, perhaps my adult lane swimmers are more agile, they can move faster than my preschool swimmers, right? But there's a lot of thought we have to give to this. And I would work in teams, work with your colleagues, create lots of lists, right? Spheres of influence, how different things are going to impact each other, and work together regionally. Neighboring facilities, you should team together. If you know your community socioeconomically, how it's made up, whether it's a lot of young families, whether it's a lot of seniors, whether it's a lot of working professionals, you can anticipate best what's going to happen. I can't tell you from near Calgary because my economic demographic here is different from wherever you are, whether it's in New Brunswick or Newfoundland.
There's just one more question, Katie. It's just have you been in communication with BCRPA at all?
I don't think I can answer that on here, but I have spoken with them.
Excellent.
I will leave it with.
I think that all your information is really excellent for like we all need to. I think everybody should be taking your session, Katie. It was great information for people to reopen. We are out of time, but I know that you had offered to chat with people whenever they're available, and your contact information is on your presentation.
Yes. Yeah, so reach out to me, I'll just go back up, take a screenshot, or Lakeview Aquatic Consultants, very easy to find on Instagram, Facebook. There's not a lot of similar companies. So yes, if you want to connect with me, just reach out. My phone number is on the website. Send me a message. And sorry to blow off that last question, but just I can't answer it in detail on here, but I'm always happy to be the professional bad guy. So that's a lot of what I do now as a consultant. If you want me to write an email saying why something is a bad idea so you can forward it to your boss as an unbiased third party, whatever, I do a lot of that, not just during COVID, but pre-COVID, right? But you guys are the experts. You know what's best for your facility and your people. You just really, unfortunately, have to stand up and the axe is above your head for a lot of you and really just make the right decision to the best of your abilities with the information you had at that point in time.
That's awesome, Katie. Thank you. And I wanted to also thank you for mentioning just how important it is for everybody in aquatics right now to take that leadership role. And that's been a theme throughout all of our sessions. And so thank you for adding that in and making that a big point for us to all think about.
Thank you so much. And the slides are available on the link that Kevin has pinned in the chat box. You can open those up. And I believe, Kevin, you guys